There are still places on Earth so remote, dangerous, and inaccessible that almost no human has ever set foot there. From the deepest parts of the ocean to isolated islands lost in the middle of nowhere, these locations remain among the last true frontiers of our planet. Today, we're exploring the 10 last places on Earth no human can reach. When you look at the world map, there is a tiny point lost in the vast blue of the oceans. In the freezing waters of the South Atlantic Ocean, far from any continent, lies Bouvet Island. This uninhabited island, located thousands of kilometers from the nearest landmass, is considered the most isolated piece of land on Earth. It is an ice-covered volcanic island, a dependency of Norway. If you draw a circle with a radius of 1,000 miles around it, you will find no other land. It is one of the most remote and mysterious places on our planet. Bouvet Island was discovered by the French explorer Jean-Baptiste Charles Bouvet de Lozier. However, its position was so poorly recorded that it soon disappeared from maps, becoming a kind of ghost island. Even famous explorers, including Captain Cook, failed to locate it. It was later rediscovered by a British whaling expedition and eventually claimed by Britain. In the early 20th century, Norwegian explorers landed on the island and annexed it on behalf of Norway. The island covers an area of about 49 square kilometers. Almost all of it is covered by glaciers, with steep volcanic terrain and an ice-filled central crater. Around 93% of the surface is permanently ice-covered. Its coastline consists of steep ice cliffs, making landing extremely difficult. Harsh storms, dense fog, and freezing temperatures make the island inaccessible for most of the year. Only a small ice-free area called Neuroisa, formed by a landslide in the late 1950s, offers a rare landing point. Beyond its isolation, Bouvet Island is also surrounded by mystery. One of the most famous cases is the discovery of an abandoned lifeboat found in 1964 in the Neuroisa area. A South African expedition found a seaworthy lifeboat with no crew, no distress signals, and no clear explanation. Nearby, there were barrels and oars, but no human traces. To this day, it remains unknown how the boat arrived or what happened to its crew. Another mystery is the so-called Vela incident of 1979. A U.S. Vela satellite detected a double flash of light in the region between Bouvet Island and Prince Edward Islands, consistent with a possible nuclear explosion. The event caused international controversy and was never fully explained. While some suggest a satellite error or meteor impact, others believe it may have been a secret nuclear test. Despite its isolation, Bouvet Island experiences extreme subantarctic conditions. Strong winds, freezing temperatures, and heavy snowfall dominate the environment. Average temperatures remain below zero year-round, and weather conditions can change suddenly. Permanent human settlement is impossible here. However, a fragile ecosystem still exists. Mosses, lichens, and small grasses grow in ice-free areas, while marine life around the island is surprisingly rich. Seals, penguins, and seabirds inhabit the surrounding waters, especially fur seals and penguin colonies. Bouvet Island has also been used for scientific research. Norway operates automated weather stations on the island, studying climate change, ocean currents, and marine ecosystems. It is also a rare destination for amateur radio operators. Through special DX-peditions, enthusiasts attempt to broadcast from one of the most remote places on Earth. However, the extreme conditions make these missions extremely difficult and often unpredictable. Bouvet Island is more than just a geographical point. It is a symbol of isolation, exploration, and the power of nature. It reminds us how wild and untouched parts of our planet still are. At the same time, it shows that even the most remote places are not entirely free from human influence. Bouvet Island remains the loneliest place on Earth, a silent reminder of both our curiosity and our impact on the planet. Climbing Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world, has always been a great symbol of human success. However, if we want to discover the true boundaries of Earth, we should not look at the sky, but in the opposite direction, into the dark depths of the ocean. Deep in the western Pacific Ocean, east of the Mariana Islands, there is a massive trench. This is the Mariana Trench, the deepest known point on our planet, and one of the ultimate limits humanity can reach. It is approximately 2,550 kilometers long and about 69 kilometers wide. The trench was formed at the collision point of two massive tectonic plates, the Pacific Plate and the Mariana Plate. In this geological process, the older and denser Pacific Plate slides beneath the Mariana Plate and slowly descends into the Earth's mantle. This massive movement creates extreme friction and pressure deep below the ocean floor. At the deepest point, known as the Challenger Deep, the ocean reaches a depth of about 11,000 meters. This creates a terrifying abyss that pushes the limits of physics and human understanding. As depth increases, pressure rises dramatically, by roughly 1 atmosphere every 10 meters. At the bottom, the pressure reaches over 1,000 bars. This is equivalent to thousands of tons of force per square meter, as if dozens of jumbo jets were pressing down on you. Even the density of water changes under such pressure, and its volume decreases slightly. This environment is not only defined by pressure, but also by absolute darkness and freezing cold. Beyond about 1,000 meters, sunlight completely disappears. The journey downward takes place in total darkness. Water temperatures remain just above freezing, but in some areas, hydrothermal vents release superheated, mineral-rich water from deep within the Earth. Here, extreme heat and extreme cold exist side by side. In this seemingly impossible environment, life still exists. For decades, scientists believed that life could not survive at such depths. No light, limited food, and crushing pressure raised a simple question: how could anything survive here? But discoveries proved otherwise. The Mariana Trench is home to some of the strangest and most fascinating creatures in evolution. The Mariana snailfish lives at depths greater than 8,000 meters, earning the title of the deepest known living fish. To survive extreme pressure, it has lost its scales, developed a soft, gelatinous body, and evolved more flexible bones made of cartilage-like structures instead of calcium. Deeper still, life becomes even simpler but more fascinating. Giant, single-celled organisms called xenophyophores live on the ocean floor, standing on the sediment like rocks. They feed on organic particles known as marine snow that drift down from above. Amphipods, shrimp-like crustaceans, also thrive here. Due to deep-sea gigantism, they grow much larger than their shallow-water relatives. Humanity's encounter with this dark world is relatively recent. In 1960, Don Walsh and Jacques Piccard became the first to descend into the trench inside a steel sphere called Driest. Their descent took about 5 hours, and they spent only a few minutes at the bottom. Even then, they reported seeing signs of life. In 2012, James Cameron completed a solo dive, capturing high-resolution footage of this mysterious world for the first time. In recent years, explorers such as Victor Vescovo have repeatedly descended into the trench, mapping it in greater detail than ever before. However, these explorations revealed a disturbing truth. Even the most remote and inaccessible place on Earth is not untouched by humanity. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, plastic waste, including bags and candy wrappers, has been found. Microplastics have been detected inside deep-sea organisms, proving that even these isolated ecosystems are affected by pollution. Industrial chemicals also sink into these deep trenches through ocean currents, accumulating in marine life at alarming levels. The Mariana Trench shows how resilient yet fragile our planet is. It is like a giant natural laboratory, reminding us how much of Earth remains unknown, and how far human impact has already reached. In the darkness of the deep ocean, Thousands of undiscovered species and unanswered questions still remain. This hidden world continues to challenge human curiosity and responsibility. On the world map, in the deep blue waters of the Indian Ocean, lies the Andaman Islands, a tropical chain of islands surrounded by dense green forests and coral reefs. But within this archipelago, there is one island that stands apart. Covering only a few hundred square kilometers and surrounded by dangerous reefs, it is completely isolated from the modern world. This is North Sentinel Island. What makes this island unique is not geography alone, but its inhabitants. The Sentinelese people are one of the most isolated communities on Earth, having had no meaningful contact with the outside world for thousands of years. They live as hunter-gatherers, relying on the forest and coastal waters for survival. They hunt, fish, and travel in small handmade canoes. While often described as a Stone Age society, this label is misleading. Over time, they have likely adapted using materials from shipwrecks around their island, including metal objects used for tools and arrowheads. Their isolation, however, comes at a price: complete separation from the outside world. Historical encounters with outsiders have often ended in tragedy. During the late 19th century, British colonial officer Maurice Vidal Portman led an expedition to the island and forcibly took several Sentinelese individuals to Port Blair. Lacking immunity to common diseases, they quickly became ill, and at least one elderly couple died. The surviving children were later returned to the island. This incident is believed to have deepened the tribe's hostility toward outsiders. In the following decades, the Indian government attempted limited peaceful contact by leaving gifts such as coconuts and bananas on the shoreline. In the 1990s, anthropologist Triloknath Pandit led rare expeditions in which some members of the tribe briefly accepted gifts, lowering their weapons. However, these moments of contact did not last, and the Sentinelese soon returned to their isolated way of life. Learning from the devastating impact of contact on other indigenous tribes, including disease and cultural collapse, the Indian government eventually abandoned all attempts at direct interaction. Today, North Sentinel Island is strictly off-limits. A 5-nautical-mile exclusion zone surrounds the island, enforced by the Indian Navy and Coast Guard. The policy exists not only to protect outsiders, but more importantly, to protect the Sentinelese from diseases to which they have no immunity. Even a common virus could be fatal to the entire population. Despite this, the island has occasionally attracted illegal and dangerous attempts at contact. In 2018, 2 fishermen were killed after drifting into restricted waters. The most widely known incident occurred in the same year, when American missionary John Allen Chau attempted to reach the island illegally. His approach ended in his death at the hands of the Sentinelese, and his body was never recovered. Authorities made no recovery attempt, due to the extreme risk it would pose both to the tribe and to potential rescuers. In a world where nearly every corner has been mapped and globalized, North Sentinel Island remains one of the last truly untouched places on Earth. It stands as a reminder of human diversity, isolation, and survival. The Sentinelese do not seek our world, nor do they require our technology, religion, or medicine. They have chosen to live by their own rules, in their own forest, untouched by time. All that remains for the outside world is to respect that choice and leave this island as it is, isolated, unknown, and undisturbed. North Sentinel Island should remain unreachable, not because it cannot be reached, but because it should not be. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and windiest continent on our planet, a vast, white desert of ice. Beneath this frozen surface, deep under kilometers of ice, lies a hidden world completely isolated from the outside environment for millions of years. This is Lake Vostok. Lake Vostok is the largest subglacial lake on Earth, and one of the most mysterious environments ever discovered. It is as exciting to scientists as space exploration itself. Its discovery began in the 1970s, when Soviet scientists conducted seismic surveys in Antarctica to measure the thickness of the ice sheet. During these studies, they detected signs of a massive freshwater body beneath the ice. However, it was not until decades later, with the help of satellite imaging and ice-penetrating radar, that the true size and shape of the lake were revealed. Lake Vostok lies approximately 4,000 meters beneath the ice. It stretches about 250 kilometers in length and 50 kilometers in width, covering an area of roughly 15,000 square kilometers. This makes it the largest subglacial lake in the world. What makes Lake Vostok truly unique is its extreme isolation. Scientists believe the water may have been sealed off from the surface for up to 15 to 25 million years. If true, this means the lake could represent a prehistoric time capsule, untouched since before Antarctica became frozen. For millions of years, this environment has existed in complete darkness, cut off from sunlight and the outside world, creating one of the most extreme habitats on Earth. Beneath the ice sheet, the lake remains in liquid form despite temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius. The immense pressure from the ice above, equivalent to hundreds of atmospheres, prevents it from freezing. In addition, geothermal heat from deep within the Earth helps maintain the water in a liquid state. These unique conditions make Lake Vostok one of the most extreme environments on the planet. One of the greatest scientific interests in Lake Vostok is the possibility of life. Isolated for millions of years, the lake may have developed entirely unknown ecosystems. The water contains unusually high levels of oxygen and nitrogen, creating an environment both hostile and potentially supportive of life. Any organisms living here would need to survive extreme pressure, darkness, cold, and high gas concentrations. Such organisms are known as extremophils, and Lake Vostok is considered one of the most promising places on Earth to study them. In the early 2000s, Russian scientists began drilling through the Antarctic ice sheet to reach the lake. This process required extreme precision, both technically and environmentally. To avoid contaminating the lake, special drilling techniques were developed, using substances such as kerosene and freon to prevent the borehole from freezing. Great care was taken to ensure that these chemicals did not enter the lake itself. In 2012, Russian researchers finally reached the surface of Lake Vostok. This historic moment created global excitement. Early samples suggested the presence of previously unknown microbial life forms, raising important questions about life in extreme environments, and even the possibility of life beyond Earth. Scientists believe that similar subglacial oceans may exist on moons such as Jupiter's Europa and Saturn's Enceladus. The discovery of Lake Vostok strengthens the idea that life could exist in these icy worlds as well. Despite these breakthroughs, Lake Vostok remains largely unexplored. Beneath the ice lie ancient water layers and sediment that may contain climate records spanning millions of years, offering invaluable insight into Earth's past. Lake Vostok is not just a body of water hidden beneath ice. It is a key to understanding life on Earth, and perhaps beyond it. In the silence of Antarctica's frozen depths, this hidden world continues to challenge human curiosity, pushing science further into the unknown. Mankind has conquered the highest peaks and explored the deepest oceans. Yet the journey toward the heart of the Earth remains one of the greatest unknowns. In the foothills of the Caucasus Mountains, in the remote and rugged region of Abkhazia, lies the entrance to the world's deepest known cave, Veryovkina Cave. This vast underground system descends vertically into the Earth, reaching depths of more than 2,200 meters. It represents one of the darkest and most extreme environments on the planet. The cave was first discovered in 1968 by cavers from Krasnoyarsk, who identified a small entrance at the surface. At that time, they could not have imagined the immense system hidden beneath. Decades later, in the 1980s and 1990s, members of the Perovo Speleo Club began systematic exploration, slowly revealing its vast depth step by step. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, exploration efforts resumed with greater intensity. Each expedition pushed deeper, revealing that the cave system extended far beyond expectations. In 2017, the cave surpassed 2,200 meters in depth, becoming the deepest known cave on Earth. Descending into Veryovkina is far more dangerous than climbing a mountain like Everest. Cavers crawl through narrow passages, descend vertical shafts using ropes, and pass through icy water-filled siphons. Each camp is established deep underground, surrounded by total darkness and constant cold. Near the surface, temperatures remain close to freezing, while deeper sections can become slightly more stable. However, humidity, exhaustion, and isolation make hypothermia a constant threat. Expeditions require tons of equipment, food, and survival gear. Communication is limited and can fail at any moment. Veryovkina is also known for its extreme unpredictability. The cave's structure is highly sensitive to weather conditions above ground. Heavy rainfall can rapidly flood underground passages, turning narrow tunnels into deadly traps. One expedition experienced this danger firsthand when a sudden surface storm triggered a flash flood deep inside the cave. Water levels rose rapidly, forcing explorers to escape under extreme conditions. The incident demonstrated the cave's brutal and unforgiving nature. The dangers are not only natural but also human. In 2018, an inexperienced explorer, Sergei Kozev, entered the cave alone. He became trapped in a deep section and died from hypothermia. His body was recovered months later after a complex and difficult operation. This tragic event reinforced Veryovkina's reputation as one of the most dangerous and unforgiving environments on Earth. Yet the cave is also a geological wonder. It is not just an empty void, but a vast system shaped over millions of years by underground rivers, water erosion, and tectonic processes. Inside, there are massive chambers, underground waterfalls, and unique rock formations that resemble another world entirely. For scientists, Veryovkina offers invaluable insights into Earth's geological history, groundwater systems, and extremophyll microorganisms that survive in extreme conditions. Veryovkina Cave stands as a test of human endurance and exploration. Every descent is a journey into the unknown, and every ascent is a battle for survival. This dark and hidden labyrinth continues to remind us how little we still know about our planet, and how many secrets remain buried beneath its surface. There is a place on Earth where even breathing is a struggle, and every step feels like a battle for survival. This is the Antarctic Plateau, the highest, coldest, and driest desert on our planet. This vast, ice-covered region surrounding the South Pole is one of the most extreme environments ever encountered by humans, often described as one of the last places on Earth no human can truly reach. The Antarctic Plateau lies in the interior of East Antarctica, with an average elevation of about 3,000 meters. This altitude causes the atmosphere to thin, reducing oxygen levels and making survival even more difficult. But the true danger comes from its extreme cold. Surface temperatures often fall below -50 degrees Celsius. In 2010, satellite measurements recorded a temperature of approximately -94 degrees Celsius near Dome Argus and Dome Fuji, the lowest natural temperature ever recorded on Earth. At such extremes, exposed skin can freeze within seconds, materials become brittle, and machinery can fail instantly. Several factors combine to create these conditions. The high elevation, extremely dry atmosphere, long polar nights, and low-angle sunlight all contribute to the intense cold. Snow and ice reflect more than 90% of incoming solar radiation, preventing the surface from warming. Strong winds and blizzards reduce visibility to zero, turning the landscape into a white void. Under these conditions, even a few minutes outside can be dangerous. The exploration of the Antarctic Plateau is one of the greatest challenges in human history. It was first observed during early Antarctic expeditions led by explorers such as Robert Falcon Scott. Later, Ernest Shackleton's Nimrod expedition advanced further into the interior, coming within hundreds of kilometers of the South Pole before being forced to turn back due to extreme weather. Eventually, explorers such as Roald Amundsen and Robert Falcon Scott crossed these harsh landscapes in their race to reach the South Pole, pushing the limits of human endurance. Today, there is no permanent human settlement on the Antarctic Plateau. Only temporary scientific stations operate during the summer months. Facilities such as the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station are specially designed to survive in this frozen environment. Scientists stationed here study ice cores that contain climate records stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. Air bubbles trapped in ancient ice provide invaluable information about Earth's past atmosphere and climate history. Beyond climate science, the Antarctic Plateau also serves as a unique laboratory for astrobiology. Researchers study how microorganisms survive in extreme conditions, helping to understand the possibility of life on planets such as Mars. Large visible life forms cannot survive here. Penguins and seals live along the Antarctic coasts, but the interior plateau is almost entirely lifeless, except for microscopic organisms. Yet, this silence is part of its power. The lack of light pollution and extremely dry atmosphere make parts of the plateau, such as Ridge A, some of the best locations on Earth for astronomical observation. The Antarctic Plateau is a place where nature shows both its purest and most unforgiving form. It reminds us how wild and untouched our planet still is, and how far human curiosity can reach. In the endless white silence, it reflects both the fragility of human life and the vast power of nature itself. The Antarctic Plateau is not just a geographic region. It is a frozen desert that pushes the limits of human survival and understanding. In the rugged foothills of the Caucasus Mountains, in the mysterious lands of Abkhazia, lies a massive underground system that extends deep into the earth. This is Krubera Cave, once holding the title of the deepest known cave in the world, and regarded as the Everest of speleology among cave explorers. This vast limestone labyrinth reaches depths of over 2,000 meters, making it one of the ultimate challenges of human exploration and endurance. The story of Krubera begins with its discovery by Georgian speleologists in 1960. However, at that time its true depth and complexity were not yet understood. In the 1980s and 1990s, Ukrainian speleologists rediscovered and expanded exploration of the cave, naming it Veryovkina Cave, or Cave of Crows, due to nesting birds found at its entrance. Years of difficult expeditions gradually revealed its true scale. In 2001, Ukrainian teams reached a depth of 1,710 meters, officially declaring Krubera the deepest known cave on Earth at the time. Later, explorations pushed even further. In 2012, speleologist Gennady Samokin reached a depth of 2,197 meters, setting a new world record. Although Krubera has since been surpassed by Veryovkina Cave, it remains one of the two deepest caves ever explored and a milestone in speleology. Descending into Krubera is both a physical and mental challenge. Explorers crawl through narrow passages, pass through icy siphons filled with water, and descend hundreds of meters using ropes in vertical shafts. Conditions inside the cave vary dramatically. Near the surface, temperatures remain below freezing, while deeper sections can become slightly more stable. However, constant humidity, dripping water, and exhaustion make hypothermia a constant threat. Cavers must carry heavy loads of food, water, and survival equipment. Communication with the surface is maintained through special cable systems, but even these can fail without warning. The cave's extreme depth and complexity are the result of millions of years of geological processes. Krubera lies within the limestone formations of the Arabica Massif, where slightly acidic rainwater slowly dissolved rock, creating vast shafts, tunnels, and chambers. Tectonic activity also played a major role, uplifting the region and forming new underground passages over time. Deep inside the cave, underground rivers and lakes continue to shape its structure, while also creating dangerous obstacles for explorers. One of the most fascinating aspects of Krubera is the presence of life in such extreme conditions. In total darkness, completely isolated from sunlight, unique organisms have evolved to survive. A species of springtail known as Plutomurus ortobalaganensis has been found at depths of around 1,980 meters, making it one of the deepest dwelling terrestrial animals ever discovered. These tiny creatures survive by feeding on decaying organic matter and are highly adapted to humidity and darkness. Other species have also been discovered in the cave, including pseudoscorpions, spiders, crustaceans, and various insects. These organisms provide scientists with valuable insights into how life can adapt to extreme environments, and may even offer clues in the search for extraterrestrial life. Krubera Cave stands as a symbol of human curiosity and the desire to explore the unknown. Each expedition opens a new window into a hidden world beneath the Earth. Beyond depth records, researchers continue to learn about geological processes, underground water systems, and the resilience of life in extreme environments. Krubera reminds us how many secrets our planet still holds and how much of it remains unexplored. In its cold, dark labyrinth, it continues to represent one of the deepest frontiers humanity can reach, and one of the last true mysteries of our world. The lonely rock in the middle of the ocean, Rockall. In the rough waters of the North Atlantic Ocean, between Scotland, Ireland, and Iceland, a remote and desolate rock rises above the waves. This is Rockall, one of the most isolated and inaccessible places on Earth. Standing just 17 meters high and roughly the size of a bus, this extinct volcanic remnant may seem insignificant at first glance. But Rockall is far from ordinary. It is one of the most dangerous and controversial locations on our list of the last places on Earth no human can reach. Rockall was formed millions of years ago during intense volcanic activity in the North Atlantic. Over time, relentless ocean erosion stripped away most of the structure, leaving only a steep, black granite outcrop covered in seabird guano. For centuries, Rockall has been a hazard to navigation. Nearby formations, such as Hasselwood Rock, have contributed to numerous shipwrecks. One of the most tragic was the sinking of the Danish passenger ship SS Norge in 1904, where more than 600 lives were lost, a stark reminder of the region's deadly waters. Reaching Rockall is a direct confrontation with the forces of nature. The surrounding ocean is known for violent storms and massive waves throughout the year. Even approaching the rock is dangerous, and landing on its vertical, slippery surface is extremely difficult. The first recorded landing took place in 1811, when Lieutenant Basil Hall of the British Royal Navy and his team managed to set foot on the rock. However, even this expedition turned into a dangerous ordeal as sudden fog threatened to leave their ship stranded. Beyond its natural dangers, Rockall is also known for its long-standing political disputes. In 1955, during the Cold War, the United Kingdom officially claimed Rockall, fearing it could be used by the Soviet Union for surveillance of missile tests. British forces landed by helicopter, installed a plaque, and raised the Union flag, declaring it British territory. In 1972, Rockall was formally incorporated into the United Kingdom. However, this claim was not only about security. It was also linked to strategic interests in fishing grounds and potential offshore oil and gas reserves in the surrounding seabed. This led to disputes with Ireland, Iceland, and Denmark on behalf of the Faroe Islands. Ireland, in particular, has never recognized the UK's claim. Under international maritime law, rocks that cannot sustain human habitation cannot generate a full, exclusive economic zone. Despite this, the UK maintains territorial waters around Rockall, which continues to create tension between neighboring nations and fishing communities. Rockall has also attracted adventurers and activists over the years. In 1985, former SAS soldier Tom McLean spent 40 days on the rock inside a small wooden structure, attempting to reinforce the UK's sovereignty claim. In 1997, Greenpeace activists occupied Rockall in protest against oil exploration and symbolically declared it the Republic of Waveland. The record for the longest stay belongs to Nick Hancock, who survived alone for 45 days in 2014 inside a specially designed survival capsule. His endurance once again highlighted the extreme isolation and brutality of Rockall. Rockall stands as a monument to isolation in the middle of the ocean, a place where nature dominates completely. It remains uninhabitable, unreachable, and politically contested, shaped by waves, wind, and international tension. This lonely rock is a silent reminder of how fragile human claims are in the face of the vast and uncontrollable forces of nature. Where heaven fell to earth. Sima Humboldt. In the southeastern part of Venezuela, deep within the Orinoco River basin, rise the towering flat-topped mountains known as tepuis. These ancient formations have been isolated for millions of years, creating surreal landscapes and unique ecosystems. At the summit of Sari-Sariñama Tepuy lies one of nature's most extraordinary features, Sima Humboldt. This enormous sinkhole is one of the largest and most mysterious natural voids on Earth, as if a piece of heaven itself had collapsed into the ground, revealing an entirely separate world inside. Sima Humboldt was first discovered from the air in 1961 by pilot Harry Gibson. Flying over the dense, forest-covered plateau, he noticed a massive circular opening that defied expectations of the landscape below. At first, it was thought to be a meteor impact crater. However, later studies revealed it to be a karst sinkhole formed by long-term water erosion of quartzite rock, a highly unusual process given the extreme hardness of the Tepui's geology. Unlike typical sinkholes formed by underground cave collapse, Sima Humboldt was created by water slowly filtering downward from the surface, carving out vertical walls over millions of years. The sinkhole measures approximately 352 meters across at the rim, expands to about 502 meters at its widest point, and drops to a depth of 314 meters. Its scale is so immense that entire ecosystems could exist within it. But what makes Sima Humboldt truly remarkable is not only its size, it is the isolated world it contains. At the bottom lies a completely separate forest, cut off from the surrounding Tepuy ecosystem. This lost world is filled with trees reaching 15 to 25 meters in height, along with plant and animal species that have evolved in isolation for millions of years. The first scientific descent took place in 1974, led by Charles Brewer Curious. It was an extremely dangerous expedition, requiring climbers to descend sheer vertical walls using ropes. As they descended deeper, the widening structure of the sinkhole created new challenges. Ropes became unstable, and movement along the walls grew increasingly difficult. During early attempts, the team faced severe risks and had to be rescued by helicopter, highlighting the extreme danger of the environment. Later expeditions focused on studying the isolated ecosystem at the base of the sinkhole. Scientists discovered numerous plant and insect species that had never been documented before. These organisms survive in conditions of limited sunlight, high humidity, and nutrient scarcity, adapting in ways that provide valuable insight into evolution in isolation. Sima Humboldt acts like a biological time capsule, preserving a version of life that may have developed millions of years ago, separated from the outside world. For biologists and ecologists, it remains an invaluable natural laboratory. Sima Humboldt is not just a geological formation. It is a monument to the power of erosion, time, and isolation. It stands as a reminder of how much of our planet remains unexplored, and how many hidden worlds still exist beyond human reach. From above, it appears as a simple void in the forest, but within it lies a universe of its own, silent, isolated, and untouched. Sima Humboldt continues to guard its lost world at the top of Sarisarenyama Tepuis, a place where nature seems to have carved a gateway into another world. The mysterious wound of the Pacific, the new Hebrides Trench. The Pacific Ocean is the largest and deepest ocean on Earth, holding some of its most hidden secrets. Beneath its vast surface, deep fractures created by the movement of tectonic plates form some of the least explored regions of the planet. In the dark waters of the South Pacific, between Vanuatu and New Caledonia, lies one of these hidden systems, the new Hebrides Trench, an inaccessible world at the heart of the ocean. This trench is formed by a subduction zone, where the Australian plate is forced beneath the new Hebrides microplate. Over millions of years, this process has generated intense volcanic activity and frequent earthquakes, shaping both the Vanuatu island chain and the deep ocean trench itself. The trench extends for roughly 1,200 kilometers and reaches depths of more than 7,000 meters in some areas. While it is not as deep as the Mariana Trench, it remains one of the most scientifically intriguing regions in the Pacific. The existence of the trench was first reported in 1962 by the U.S. research vessel Spencer F. Baird. However, detailed exploration did not occur until 2013, when an international expedition led by the University of Aberdeen's Ocean Lab and New Zealand's NIWA finally investigated its depths. Using deep-sea landers equipped with cameras and baited traps, scientists were able to observe life on the ocean floor for the first time. The results were surprising. Unlike other deep ocean trenches such as the Japan Trench or the Kermadec Trench, where grenadier fish are commonly found, the new Hebrides Trench showed a different ecosystem. Grenadier fish were almost absent. Instead, researchers observed large numbers of cusk eels and bright red shrimp. This difference is believed to be linked to the low nutrient levels in the waters above the trench. Cusk eels and shrimp are better adapted to survive in such nutrient-poor environments, demonstrating how life evolves differently even in similar extreme conditions. The new Hebrides Trench is not only biologically unique, but also geologically active. The region experiences frequent strong earthquakes, which can sometimes trigger devastating tsunamis that threaten the surrounding island nations. By studying these seismic events, scientists gain valuable insights into the dynamics of Earth's interior and plate tectonics. This deep and dark environment represents one of the final frontiers of ocean exploration. Despite advances in technology, much of it remains unexplored. The new Hebrides Trench reminds us how much of our planet is still unknown, hidden beneath the surface of the sea. Each discovery here expands our understanding of how life adapts to extreme environments and strengthens the possibility that similar ecosystems could exist elsewhere in the universe. Deep in the Pacific, the new Hebrides Trench remains one of the most inaccessible and mysterious places on Earth, a silent world still waiting to be fully revealed.